Hi, welcome to Barb's Book Spot. Hi, welcome to Barb's Book Spot. Today I'd like to talk to you about 3 books that I think I deal with the idea of perception. We see the world and we see ourselves in the world different ways depending on our mood, our place in space, whether we're sitting or standing. All kinds of things color our perception of the world. And I think these books sort of intrinsically get at that even underneath while you're enjoying the regular story. So the first one I'd like to share with you is called Come Home Angus. Come Home Angus is written by Patrick Downes with illustrations by Boris Kulikoff. And this book was published by it's Orchard Books, which is an imprint of Scholastic Incorporated. So Angus wakes up in the morning and he is angry. He's so angry. The text says, Angus woke up angry. He didn't know why. He just did. And if you look at the picture, he's kind of a tilt in the world, and he's huge. Like, his anger is the biggest thing about him that we know right now. And as he goes on in the story, the pictures show him bigger and bigger in relation to the household objects and to the things around him, to the point where he's so big, he's almost off the page. And in this conversation with his mother, he's saying, I just can't handle it here, I'm running away. We get the idea that he's running away. I think any of us who are parents who've had toddlers know, we know those days. But all of us have those days where the anger is the biggest thing about us, and it colors everything we do and see and all our decisions that we make. So Angus does run away, and as we see him run away, he's getting bigger and bigger. But we also see that as he leaves home and gets down into the city, he's becoming smaller and smaller. He's dwarfed by this world around him. All of a sudden, the anger isn't what's so important. It's where am I that's more important. So his perception is changing, and the illustrations are showing how he feels. Not a word has to be said. We can get that from the pictures. He's being dwarfed by his surroundings now, and his anger isn't dwarfing anything. To the point where he's so small, he's sitting on the bench here realizing he forgot to pack a lunch, watching a woman eat her lunch, and he is extremely small compared to their legs, the point of view. He's just kind of hidden in there. He's a nothing, he's nobody. And I'm thinking at this point he's wishing Mommy was around. So Angus has a day that is colored by the perception of his anger. Just for those of you who like happy endings, we do know that Mom has followed him. And he's safe. He's never been really away and out of her sight, but he didn't know that. But now that they're back together and sitting having lunch together, everything's back in its normal perspective. Everything is in proportion again. I think I wouldn't necessarily point that out about the book when I was reading it aloud. I'm thinking that message will come across. But I also like to use picture books like this with older readers. It's a simple story, but if I have a sophisticated reader or an older student, I might talk just about that perception. How does our perception of the world or our perception of self color how we understand what's going on around us? So it's a book that can be used in a couple of different ways, I think. The next book I'd like to share with you is called Look Up, and it's by Hong Jin-ho, who's a South Korean author. And this book was published by Holiday House. I'm going to show you the end papers because when you look at them, you're not quite sure what it is you're seeing. I think at least I wasn't. It's like, I see a lot of little boxes and things, but I'm not sure what that is. Now I'm going to flip to the end and show you the end papers at the back. Same general image, but notice the color. Notice the little spots of pink. All right, before reading the book, I'm not sure what that means, but sometimes I like to look at the end papers just to see if there's going to be a happy ending. I think when I see color or brightness or a change in the end, it tells me something about the way the story's going to go. Okay, so let me start at the beginning here. The first page we see is those, similar to the end papers, those little boxes, but now I see what looks like the top of someone's head. I get it. I'm looking down, maybe on a paved walkway or a terrace of some sort. And I can even take a good guess at what these are. I'm thinking that that may be, where the trees are planted, those little grates that they put around the trees. And the only word on the page up in the corner is slam. This book is nearly wordless. So I get the idea that I'm with the person who's upstairs somewhere looking down. Okay, now let me flip forward. There's one line of text here. They look like ants, and they do. And we see the head, a very large head of a person looking over a window ledge down at the world below. The perception here is from above, a person that we're close to, looking down far away at the world, at action happening down below. They're disconnected from the action, but that's where the focus is. The focus is on the action, what's happening down below. And as I read the book, I was watching what was going on down here. I have to tell you, and I'm going to go back and show you, I paid less attention to the person who I'm standing here with and more attention to what's going on down here and watching for the little minute changes. All right, so that's where my attention was drawn as a reader. Now I see one person looking up. The text says, "Come down, you can't see well from up there." And she says, or he, we're not sure yet, "You're right, I can only see the tops of people's heads." Now what happens next made me laugh out loud. He lays down so she can see more than the top of his head. And someone comes by and says, "Why are you lying on the sidewalk?" "So that girl up there can see me." So now I know it's a girl, and I see this little person lying down so they can see the whole person and not just the top of their head. In fact, before you know it, all kinds of people, one by one, have joined the crowd, and they're all laying down, looking up at her so that she can see all of them. And this is kind of I can just imagine walking down the street and seeing all these people laying around on the ground, waving up or looking up. And then in the very end, we see her big smile as she's looking down on all of the people. And then the last page, there's nobody upstairs. I see a little seedling here. There's color. All of a sudden I'm seeing color in the pictures. Something sprouting. And color here. And I see two children in a wheelchair. Now when I got here, when I read the book, it's like, oh, she was in a wheelchair. How would I have known that? I didn't know that till the end. But let me flip back and show you. I read right past this page when I was looking at all the details down below. Do you see her feet on the pedals? I absolutely missed that the first time I read the book because just like I think the author wanted, my attention was drawn down below. It wasn't on myself. It wasn't on the character I was beside in the virtual world. It was down below at all of those people that looked like ants, the action. I was separate from the action, so my perception was colored by paying attention to what was going on down there, not with who I was. And sometimes that's good and sometimes that's bad. There could be a whole discussion about that. Again, with a sophisticated reader, for just children, you can go on the story and enjoy the story just for what it is. But I think it's a lovely book. I love the design. I love the vertical setup. I like the fact that her big smile just colors the pages when she gets to it. You can see all the people down below, and then you can see her big smile up above. And I love that just tiny addition of color at the end. The last book I'd like to talk to you about today is called The Airport Book. And for this one, I've left the dust cover on so I can show you, because there's a difference between the dust cover and the actual cover of the book. This book is written by Lisa Brown. She also did the illustrations. And it's a Neil Porter book published by Roaring Brook Press, which is an imprint of the Macmillan Book Company. So let me just show you the spread of the cover. We see a family getting ready to go on a trip. We're at the airport. Looks like they're just getting ready to board. Now I'm going to take the dust cover off and show you the actual cover of the book. I always like to peek under the dust cover and see what's going on. And we can see that our characters, we're going to have a diverse cast of characters. I like that when books show a diverse crowd. Attention's not drawn to any one race or ethnicity or anything specific about a character. It's just a diverse world we live in, so we should have representation broadly in the books that we share with our children. So we're going to go to the busy airport. Now in this book, the little girl's perception is colored by her sock monkey. She has a little sock monkey, and let me show you the opening page here. And the family's getting ready to go, so Mom is saying, "Oh, don't forget the monkey." And Dad is saying, "Of course I won't forget the monkey." The little boy's going, "Where's my hat?" Well, of course it's on his head. We know what he's thinking about. And here's the little girl, the toddler, I pack monkey. Now she stuck it in the bag that's going to go to be checked. It's not in their carry-on luggage. And so that's going to become a problem throughout the story because the whole trip, her focus is on, where's the monkey? I have to see monkey. Where's my monkey? And you know when a toddler especially gets something in their head, it's really hard to shake. And so you can distract them for a while, but it always comes back to that thing that their perception is being colored by, let's say. So let me get through about halfway through the book. Let me see this page. We see everybody sitting on the plane, and here's the little girl, and she's looking out the window going, monkey, monkey. She's still looking for her monkey. Now, I put a little marker here to show you. Most of the pages of the book, once we start to get into the story, are split. We have the action taking place on the top with all of the people. We get in line, we buy the tickets, we see all the chaos at the airport, we see the car ride too, we see the airplane in the air. All of those things are going on with the people. But we're also following the story of the luggage, the checked luggage. And if you look down here, I'm trying to make sure you can see. Here's the bag that the little girl packed, and you'll see a tail hanging out. It was closed with the tail of the monkey sticking out of the bag. And we've been able to follow that all along. That's how we can identify this bag, because it has a monkey tail sticking out. And right next to it is somebody's pet carrier with a little dog, and if you look closely, you can see that the door of the cage is ajar. All right? So we get the sense that there's going to be some interaction between the dog and perhaps this monkey tail. So you'll have to read the rest of the story to see what happens. But what I really like about this book is the dual layers. There's two stories going on. We have the focus of the child keeping our attention on the monkey. We're reminded periodically from the text to look for the monkey. I think it would be really fun to have children look for the monkey as the story goes on. And then in the end, see what happens to the monkey and what happens with the family when they get to their destination. I think it's very genuine. The family interacts in a normal way. The dialogue, there's just a little bit, but it rings true. And I think it will be a really fun read aloud to use with your students. That's it for today.